Hey, what's up, my friends? JT DeBolt is here with you today for the Elite Marketing Pro Daily Dose of Awesome, your 15 minutes of inspiration, education, and motivation to help you get your day started right. And before we jump into this, let me just say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is for you, no matter where you might be tuning in from on the Big Blue Marble. Thanks for joining us here each and every single Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And as you're jumping out here, give me a shout out. Let me know where you are tuning in from on the Big Blue Marble. Always great to have our friends coming and joining us. And you're going to have to forgive my voice today. My voice is a little bit gone. Number one, from an amazing 3-day workshop that we did in Chicago, Illinois for the Fast Track to Freedom mentorship program. Amazing 3 days with some truly remarkable human beings, all of which I'm very proud of and excited for as they go out there and build their journey. And then, of course, last night was Monday night here in Seattle. We hosted the Atlanta Falcons, the Seattle Seahawks and Atlanta Falcons, and I took my daughter to the game. Actually, she took me to the game. Quick side story on that. She was the top seller. Some of you saw the video of my daughter Callie and my son Max talking about how they were the top sellers in their fundraisers, and a lot of the lessons that we had to learn to become great salespeople in our businesses. Hopefully you gleaned from that. But certainly she won the competition. She actually won a, what do you call it, a Nintendo Switch, and she sold that thing, took the money from the sale of that, bought 2 tickets, and took dear old dad to the game last night. So it was pretty cool. Seattle fell. Unfortunately, we didn't win the game. The Atlanta Falcons are a great team, super awesome organization. So it was so much fun, but my voice is a little bit thrashed. So if I sound raspy, that's one reason why. Today, I'm going to talk to you about this concept of, can you lead your prospects to better results, even if you haven't had any results in your own business? So here's the question I would ask. As you guys are jumping out here, I see lots of people saying hello. What's going on? I'm going to see if I can pull these comments up. Give me just 1 second here as I pull you guys up here. I'm not, for whatever reason, they're not showing up. There we go. I see Hannah. What's up? Scott, good to see you, my friend. Jill, what's going on? Reba, what's up, Reba? Rosemary, good to see you. Katrina, what's going on? Good to see you again, man. I had a great time with you this weekend. Lisa, what's happening? Mia, what's happening? Melinda, Heather, lots of cool people jumping out here. All right, cool. So what's up, Luke? Good to see you, my man. So listen, this is a common question that comes up. In fact, I wanted to build this on the whiteboard today. So we're going to take a little bit of a different approach to the Daily Dose of Awesome. This is going to be instructional, of course, but I'm actually going to whip out the big black marker so you guys can see this. If you've ever been in a position where you want to lead people, and I can see people saying this, give me a 1. By the way, Susan Peters says, aloha from Hawaii, still 12 though. Nice. Here's the question though. Have you ever been in a position where you want to help people get results, but you feel, well, I don't have the results yet even myself, so how the heck am I supposed to lead them? How am I supposed to show them a better way? If you've ever felt that, give me a 1 in the chat box. Give me a 1 in the chat box, and I want you to know that if you've ever felt that, that's a very common thing for people to feel, especially when they first get started in their business. And in network marketing in particular, because a lot of times we're not necessarily given the skill sets. We're not given the tools to be able to go out there and really affect change, right? A lot of times what happens is the upline says, hey, go out there and build your business the traditional way, belly to belly, three-foot rule, you know what I'm saying. And the whole point to that is, hey, just do what you know what to do. Well, guess what? I'm going to prove to you that you actually have the skills to help other people get results, even if you haven't gotten them first. The first step to being able to help somebody to get results is we have to get clear on what it is they really want. Now, if you were with us last Friday when I did the Daily Dose of Awesome from the workshop in Chicago, you probably remember me talking about the 2-point conversion, right? And all that really means is this. We got to get clear on what it is we want, right? So we'll call that our target, what it is we really want. And then we have to get clear on where we are relative to that target, right? So this is our starting point. And frankly, it's just about drawing a straight line between those two. Now, a lot of times what's going to happen is you're going to hear people say, well, you know, I want to make more money. I want to fire my boss. They're going to give you very general answers to that question, what they really want. So what we have to do is to get really deep on them. What is it you truly want to do? What is it you want to affect and change in your business, in your life, these sorts of things. And by the way, what I'm teaching you here today is something that you can do in everything that you do to promote your business, whether you are doing a Facebook Live, whether you're doing a training, whether you're doing a webinar. The whole idea here is to get as clear as you can as to what your market wants. Now, you can do this a lot of different ways. You can do the market research. You can ask a lot of questions. You can hang out on forums, and you can go onto Facebook groups and things like this. The single most powerful way to find out what somebody wants is to ask them, right? I mean, how many times have we asked questions and only found out, wow, now we really have clarity on what it is we're seeking, or we have clarity on the situation, clarity from the conversation. So if this makes sense, give me a 2 in the chat box. If you get the sense that the best way to find the answer is to ask better questions, then give me a 2. So we got to get clear on what it is they want. And then we got to get clear on where they are relative to it. And by this, what I'm talking about is we have to get clear on what their intention is. What's the intention behind this? So let's say they get very clear. They say, hey, in the next 30 days or the next 6 months or whatever their time frame is, I want to make $1,000 or I want to make $2,500 or whatever that thing is. They got a very clear sense. And if you guys were with us Friday, we talked about S SMART goals, S being simple, the second S being specific, measurable, actionable, I just lost it again. Not reachable. Guys, type it in if you know what the word is. It's not reachable. It's, I'll come back to it. And then T is timely, right? The whole point is this, is that we have, reasonable. That's what the R is. We got to know what those are. But here's the most important piece of this, is just because you're an expert and you have all the answers doesn't mean you feed them the answers. Because sometimes we might be wrong, right? Sometimes we may not understand what that person really wants. So we have to ask them. We have to draw the questions out from them. So whether you're an expert or whether you're brand new, asking questions is the way we get there. First of all, what is it they want? But more importantly, what the point behind it is, what it represents. Not just, you know, like the purpose behind it, but the true meaning, like deep down inside. What does $2,500 a month mean? Because to you and I, it might mean something different to them. $1,000 to them might be something totally different to the person you spoke to before them, okay? But we have to know this. But more important than us knowing it, they have to know it. They have to be crystal clear as to what that thing represents to them, what the purpose is, what the drive is, why they will get up every single morning. I just said why, and that's not the question you want to hear. The thing that's going to drive them every single morning to get up and go after this thing. Does that make sense? Give me a 3 in the chat box if that makes sense, because if we've got clarity on what it is they want, but more importantly, what it represents to them, what the motivation is, what the drive behind it is, then and only then can we start to build this bridge. We can build that road to where they want to be. So now how do we do that? A lot of times in leadership, a lot of times in mentorship, and a lot of times in what they call quote unquote coaching, we're seeking to find the answer because we want to give them the solution. We want to hand it to them on a silver platter. But here's where it's different. The difference between a really great coach or mentor and somebody who's just kind of playing that role is that a person that's a true mentor, a person who's a true coach, and this is what you want to be able to do, a true leader, is to be able to pull the question and the answer out of the person. Does that make sense? Because if I give you the answer, it may or may not match for you. It might be 80%. You might say to yourself, yeah, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, I agree with that on a level 8. The only time it actually matches 100%, 10 out of 10, is if the person arrives at it by themselves. So for those of you guys that were at the workshop this weekend, you remember we kept asking the question, what might you do next? And it got so repetitive. We asked that question so many times that it almost became sort of comical. It was like, oh, everybody knows what question's coming next. But the fact of the matter is that question is extremely powerful because we use the word might. Now, as you probably have heard me say, and I'm going to say it many times here, the word might is a very powerful word because it means both power and possibility in literally every language across the board. So every language has a word that's synonymous with might. And the concept here is that it means both power, right? So you can do something with all your might, and possibility. Yeah, that might work. And it puts you in a much more proactive state of mind. It puts you in a much more resourceful state of mind. And that's where we want our prospects. We want our prospects not to be waiting for us to be fed and hand-fed and coddled and pet on the head and said everything's going to be okay. We want them to be empowered. One of the big kind of problems I have with the coaching industry, the professional coaching, like especially when I'm talking about personal development coaching, is that a lot of coaches are keeping people stuck. They want to be dependent upon. Those coaches, they're basing their paychecks on the fact that the person stays stuck and keeps coming back to them and back to them and back to them and kind of stays on the hook, almost like a drug addict would, right? And so that's not what we do. As a mentor, we want to empower them. It's not that we want them to fire us or move on from us, but kind of, we want them to be able to spread their wings and be self-sufficient and become resourceful. That is when we become valuable to them. And it doesn't matter whether you're brand new. If you're just starting out, you can actually do this, all right? So let me see. Okay, I got a lot of people typing 1 in here. They definitely agree with me, and that's cool. Let me just see what some of these other comments are here. If this is working for you, let me know what specifically is working and say, hey, JT, what I really got from you is this. I'm brand new and I can lead other people. Go ahead and give me a comment in the chat box. What might you do next, Paula, is exactly right. So here's the question that you would ask. Once we've got clarity, you're talking to your prospect or you're talking to a person on your team. You're like, what is it you want to achieve? Okay, cool. Tell me what that means to you. Give me the purpose behind it. Tell me what drives you to want this. What drives you to want this? And they're going to get clear on this, and now it's going to start to mean something to them and also to you. Now, here's the cool part. You don't have to be an expert. I've got a client of mine who is a top executive. I think he's number 3 on the organizational chart of a $50 million company in San Diego, California. Here's the cool part. It's in the electrical field. So they build skyscrapers and high rises and big time casinos and hotels and things like this. And they install all the electrical in that building. I know nothing about electricity. I'll tell you what I know about electricity. I flip the switch on and the lights turn on. That's it. That's all I know about electricity. So how am I qualified to talk to a guy about his $50 million electrical company? Here's how. Even though I have a lot of experience in leadership, even though I have a lot of experience in high-performance psychology, what I do not have is any experience in how to build a skyscraper and make it turn on, right? To put the electricity into it. What I know how to do to help him get past his challenges is to ask great questions. All right, well, what might you do next? So if this person says, hey, I want to get to $2,500 or $5,000 or whatever it is, and their reason for it and their purpose behind it is strong and clear, the next question is, how do we do this? If you do not know this, that's okay, because it's a discovery process. That discovery process comes by asking, great, so what might you do first? What might you do first? And I'm going to challenge you on this. Right now, what is your goal for the next 30 days? What do you want to achieve between now and just before Christmas? Here we are, I think it's the 20th or the 21st. Yeah, the 21st of November. So by the 21st of December, what's your 30-day SMART goal? SMART goal. Specific, simple, measurable, actionable, all of those things. What is that part of you? What is it, or what is that thing that you want to achieve? Number 2 is what does it mean? What's the purpose behind it? How strong is that for you? Get clear on that in yourself. And here's my question to you. I'm not even talking to you one-on-one, but if I was, the next question I would ask you is now, what's something you could do right now, today, as soon as we get done with this video, that you could actually take action on and start moving toward that 30-day goal? A lot of times people will give you that deer in the headlights look. They'll say, well, I don't know. If I knew that, I wouldn't need you. And the answer is, actually, you probably do know. What might you do first? What might you do right now that would get you there? So for instance, if my 30-day goal was to be able to run a half marathon, I'd have to know, am I actually close to being, in 30 days, is it reasonable for me to get there? If it's reasonable, then the question is, what might I do today, right now, that would help me get there? The answer might be pretty simple. Well, go out and do a training run. How far might I be able to run today? How far might I be able to get on the basis of my training right now? And then go out there and test that theory. See, here's the beautiful part. We don't have to be right. I think a lot of times people get wrapped up in out of this fear of failure because they don't want to be seen as wrong, right? It's not the failure that hurts. It's the bruise to the ego. Would you agree with that? If you agree with that, give me a 5, like a high 5 right here in the chat box. A lot of times people are so freaked out to take action because they don't want to be perceived as wrong. They don't want to be perceived as not knowing, or they don't want to be perceived as somehow incompetent. But the reality is that you're not incompetent. The reality is you're testing things. You're a journeyer. You're an adventurer. You're trying to figure these things out because you know deep down inside it's a matter of trial and error. And in some cases, it's a matter of asking better questions. By the way, if you have a mentor or a coach, challenge them to ask you these questions. What might I do next? What might I do first? What might I do differently to get me where I'm going? There's 3 questions that I challenge everybody with. In fact, we use this in the workshops, and I highly believe it's the 3 most powerful questions we can ask at the end of every single day. What worked? What didn't work? And what might we do differently? The great, amazing, mighty Kate McShay does this every single day and every single week, and I actually follow her suit. I ask that question a lot. What worked? What didn't work? And what might I do differently in order to get this result? When we think in terms of that, we ask ourselves, okay, cool, what worked? Something had to have worked, even if it was a small thing that worked. Maybe it was the way we allotted our time. Maybe it was the way we executed. Maybe it was the way we blocked out the distractions. Something had to have worked. Fantastic. You want to find about 3 of those, at least 3 things that worked well. Number 2 is what didn't work. What didn't work? Now, hopefully you find 2 of those. Here's the reality. A lot of times we're going to make a huge list of all the things that didn't work well. The question we have to ask ourselves is how much of those are in our direct control? So when you're talking to a prospect and you say, okay, well, what's working for you? They may say, well, this, that, and the other thing. They may be very vague about it. But let's challenge them. Okay, how is that working for you? And what might you do differently? And as they start to think about the things that are working well for them, say, okay, now let's be honest. What's not working so well for you? They may be very verbose about this and just pour and just spill their guts out for you and tell you everything that's not working. We want to get them out of that stuck state so they're not thinking about that particular challenge. The question is, what's not working? Okay, great. It's not so much what's not working. The better question is, what might we do differently? You know, what might we do differently? Hey, maybe we do need to allot our time better. Maybe we do need to get a mentor to help us along with this process. And oh, by the way, I can help you with that. Isn't that a powerful place to be, and a place where you can actually help people just asking those simple questions? My friends, I'll be completely transparent with you. Think of the most famous coach in the world. Maybe it's Tony Robbins for you. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's whomever it might be, the most famous mentor, or maybe a mentor you have personally in your life, the most powerful mentor you have. They probably are helping you get results because they ask better questions. That's all you have to do. 3 simple questions. What's working? What's not working? What might you do differently? And when you ask these questions, pretty soon you start to get clarity. The only thing a person needs to focus on, and that person could be you, could be me, could be the person sitting next to us. The only thing we really need to be focusing on is what we might do next. What's the next step we might take? What's the best first step we might take out of the gate? Because if we can just take 1 step, even if it's small, even if it's a small step, it's better than staying stuck. It's better than staying stagnant. It's better than sitting over here wishing we were over there. Does that make sense? And the way we do that is by simply asking those questions. What might I do first? What's one thing you could do right now today? What might you do today that's going to get you where you want to be 30 days from now? Ask yourself that question, challenge yourself with that question. And here is the big aha that I hope you get from this. When you do this for yourself, you are now qualified to do it for other people. Pretty amazing, right? You become your own test subject. You become your own lab rat because you ask yourself this question. And if you're diligent with this and disciplined with it and create it as a habit, pretty soon it becomes the way you operate. You're going to look around and you're going to start getting results. And so you won't have that excuse anymore to say, well, who am I to lead other people when I don't have results for myself? Get clear on what you want for the next 30 days, my friends. Ask yourself, where am I relative to this? What does this thing represent? That's what these 2 bookends are. We have to have clarity on these 2 spots so that we can draw the line between the 2 of them. What is it you really want? And what does that represent to you? What's the purpose? What's the meaning? What's the drive for you to get up every single day and go after this thing? The next question is great. Now I've got clarity on those 2 things. How do I do it? Question is simple. What might you do first? What might you do next? And as you go out there and do those actions, you step back and evaluate. What worked? What didn't work? What might I do differently? That is how you help people get results. That is how you get results for yourself. And more importantly, that's how you connect with somebody and not just help them feel heard, but help them feel understood. And that's what people really want these days. That's how you lead people to greatness, and that's how you find it in yourself. All right, my friends, hope you got some great stuff from this. If you got some great stuff from this, give me a 7. Give me anything you want in the chat box. Let me know what you got from this. That's what I'd love to see is tell me what your big takeaway is from this video. And if something landed for you, hit you right in the chest, I challenge you to go out there and share this video with your network. Include people in this conversation. Welcome them over here to facebook.com/Elite Marketing Pro. And if you haven't followed us yet, give us a follow here on this Facebook page. Get yourself over to EliteMarketingPro.com where you can access our free 10-day bootcamp to learn how to build your business online. Start learning those skill sets that'll help you connect with more people and give you the opportunity to actually put this into practice. And remember, we're going to come back here every single Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, which means we'll be back here again tomorrow with another episode of the Daily Dose of Awesome. Until then, remember, no matter what course you fly in life, fly high, fly fast, and fly far. We'll talk to you tomorrow.